The galaxy is burning. An unstoppable alien force, the Xyphorans, has swept across star systems, crushing entire civilizations with their advanced weapons and overwhelming numbers. Their fleets are unbeatable, their technologies unimaginable, and their ambition unquenchable. Whole planets have fallen silent, their inhabitants enslaved or wiped out without mercy. The Andromedian Empire was nothing compared to the sheer devastation the Xyphorans bring with them. No species has managed to stand against them. No one has dared to challenge their might. Until now, humanity, once considered weak and insignificant, is about to prove that even in the face of such overwhelming odds, human ingenuity and bravery can ignite a revolution. In the darkest hour, a Deathworlder, a human from a planet ravaged by the most brutal conditions known in the galaxy, rises to lead the charge. Jax Bracken, born and raised in a world where only the strongest survive, has been underestimated by the galaxy for too long. His strength and survival skills have always been legendary, but it's his strategic mind and tactical brilliance that will save them all. Jax understands that it's not brute force that will win this war. It's outthinking the Xyphorans. With his innovative plans, he rallies the galaxy's most oppressed species to rise up against the Xyphoran Empire. Humanity's small and seemingly insignificant resistance soon becomes the spark that unites the galaxy's scattered forces. Against all odds, humanity, led by Jax's ingenuity, begins to challenge the seemingly invincible Xyphorans. The fight isn't just about raw strength, it's about using human adaptability, unconventional tactics, and the sheer force of will to turn the tide. As Jax leads the resistance through the harshest of battles, humanity's strength becomes undeniable. This isn't just a battle for survival. It's a battle to prove that humanity, a species once written off, is capable of saving the galaxy, and that even the greatest empires can fall when they underestimate the power of the human spirit. The Xypherans may be powerful, but they've never faced an enemy like humanity before. The revolution has begun, and this time, it's humanity's turn to fight back. The galaxy had once been a vast expanse of civilizations, each with their own history, cultures, and technologies. Yet over the last few decades, a single alien species had emerged from the darkness, dominating and subjugating all in their path. The Xypherans, a ruthless, highly advanced species, had swept through star systems with terrifying precision. Their massive warships could obliterate entire fleets with a single command, and their bioengineered soldiers were stronger, faster, and more lethal than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their imposing fleets and perfected weaponry made them the galaxy's greatest threat, one that no species had successfully resisted. The Andromedians, once the most fearsome empire, had fallen to their might. Planet after planet had been conquered, their resources siphoned, and their populations enslaved. The Xypherans had no mercy. Their mission was simple: eradicate or enslave all who stood in their way. Humanity, though once a mighty force in the galaxy, had become but a footnote in the face of such overwhelming power. Earth was lost long ago in a brutal war with the Andromedians, and what remained of humanity had been scattered across far corners of the galaxy. The remnants of the human race, known as the human resistance, had been fighting for years in secret, launching small, covert attacks on Xyphoran supply lines and colonies. But these were minor victories, and the Xypherans barely took notice. Humanity, it seemed, had been relegated to the shadows of galactic history, no longer seen as a significant force by the other species. But that underestimation would prove to be their greatest mistake. At the heart of this rebellion stood Jax Bracken, a man born on a death world, a planet so hostile that only the strongest, most adaptable creatures survived. Jax was not just another soldier. He was a product of the harshest conditions the galaxy could offer. Raised on a world where survival was a daily struggle, Jax had learned to use every ounce of his cunning, strength, and intellect to overcome the planet's challenges. His survival instinct and his ability to think on his feet were unparalleled. He knew that to defeat the Xypherans, humanity would have to do more than just fight. They would have to outsmart them. Jax, unlike many of his predecessors, knew how to exploit the weaknesses of his enemies. The Xyphorans may have had superior technology and a ruthless military strategy, but they underestimated human resilience. Jax understood that humanity's greatest weapon was its ability to adapt, to think beyond brute force, and to innovate in ways the Xypherans couldn't imagine. As a leader of the human resistance, Jax began a campaign of strategic warfare, not only hitting the Xypherans where it hurt, but also using their own arrogance against them. He launched daring raids, sabotaged critical infrastructure, and recruited alien species who had long been oppressed by the Xypherans. The resistance began to grow rapidly, gathering strength from systems that had been decimated by the Xyphoran Empire. The galaxies oppressed, once fragmented and broken, began to unite under the banner of human ingenuity. But Jax knew that a guerrilla movement alone wouldn't be enough to defeat the Xypherans. He needed a way to strike at the heart of the Empire. The Xyphoran flagship, the Vanguard, was the key to their dominance, housing a weapon of unimaginable power. The resistance needed to neutralize it, and for that, they would have to get inside the Vanguard and destroy its core. It was here, in the midst of this dire mission, that human ingenuity would show its true power. The Vanguard was heavily guarded, its defenses near impenetrable. But Jax was a master at turning the tide in humanity's favor. He began to reverse engineer Xyphoran technology, using their own weapons and shields against them. The resistance grew stronger, not just through brute force, but through a constant stream of innovation that defied the Xypherans' expectations. Humanity had been written off by the galaxy, but now, led by Jax Bracken, they would show the universe that no empire, no matter how mighty, could withstand the strength of human adaptability and willpower. The battle for the galaxy was only just beginning, and humanity was ready to rise once again. The Xypherans had underestimated humanity. They had no idea what was coming. This time, the galaxy would know. Humans were not to be ignored. After months of preparation, the time had finally come for the human resistance to deliver its first major blow to the Xyphoran Empire. Under the leadership of Jax Bracken, the resistance had spent countless hours strategizing, building alliances, and most importantly, learning the weaknesses of their oppressors. The Xypherans, though technologically superior, had underestimated the humans' ability to adapt and innovate. Jax had gathered a team of elite resistance fighters, a mix of humans and alien species who had suffered under Xyphoran rule. Their mission: to infiltrate and destroy a key Xyphoran military installation, a weapons depot located deep within enemy-controlled territory. This facility was responsible for fueling the Xyphoran war machine, and taking it out would severely cripple their ability to continue their invasion. The operation was a high-risk, high-reward mission. The Xyphoran security was unlike anything the Resistance had faced before: automated defenses, elite soldiers, and advanced technology designed to repel any form of resistance. But Jax had spent months analyzing the facility's vulnerabilities. He knew that by using the Xypherans' overconfidence and predictable patterns, the Resistance had a chance to strike where it would hurt the most. The team, led by Jax, moved under the cover of darkness aboard a stolen Xyphoran stealth cruiser. They slipped past several security patrols, using the Resistance's newly acquired cloaking technology to avoid detection. As they neared the weapons depot, the tension among the crew was palpable, but Jax's leadership kept them focused. His calm and confidence were contagious, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Upon reaching the facility, the Resistance fighters split into two teams, one to plant explosives at the depot's core, and the other to disable the Xyphoran communications network to prevent reinforcements from arriving. The timing was crucial. If they failed to disable the communications in time, the Xypherans would call for immediate backup, and the operation would be doomed. As they infiltrated the heavily guarded complex, human ingenuity shone through. Jax and his team used sabotage and guerrilla tactics to incapacitate the facility's security systems. Ryder, Jax's most trusted officer, hacked into the Xyphoran systems, exploiting their security flaws. The team moved quickly, planting explosives and setting up interference jammers to prevent the Xypherans from communicating with their fleet. When the final charges were set, Jax gave the order to evacuate. But as they made their escape, an unexpected Xyphoran ambush caught them off guard. The sound of blaster fire filled the air as the resistance fought to hold their ground. Jax and Ryder led the charge, their weapons blazing, as the rest of the team made their way to the extraction point. With seconds to spare, the explosives detonated, sending shockwaves through the Xyphoran weapons depot and crippling their supply chain. The team made it to their getaway ship, barely escaping the ensuing chaos. As they sped away, the Xyphoran facility was consumed by the blast, signaling a massive victory for the resistance. The first major strike was a success. Not only had they dealt a significant blow to the Xypharans, but the galaxy had now seen that humanity, against all odds, could strike back with precision, intelligence, and unwavering resolve. The Resistance's victory wasn't just about taking down a weapons depot. It was about proving that humanity could challenge the seemingly invincible. The Xypharans had made their first mistake. They had underestimated humanity's will to fight. And now humanity was beginning to show the universe that they would no longer be a footnote in the galaxy's history. They would be a force to be reckoned with. The human resistance's success in their first major strike against the Xypharans had set the stage for something much larger. The Xypharans, once confident in their invincibility, were beginning to feel the weight of humanity's resilience. However, while this victory had caused a ripple in their empire, it was clear that the war was far from over. The Xypharans still held the upper hand in sheer numbers and firepower, and the resistance was still a scattered, under-equipped force. For humanity to truly stand a chance, they needed to outsmart their oppressors, not just fight harder, but fight smarter. Jax Bracken, the leader of the resistance, knew this better than anyone. While many of his soldiers were eager for another direct assault, Jax understood that human ingenuity would be their greatest weapon against the Xypharans. The resistance had a few advantages that the Xypharans couldn't see coming. They had resourcefulness, they could adapt quickly, and they could use guerrilla tactics to exploit the weaknesses in the Xyphoran war machine. Now, it was time for the resistance to turn the tide with tactical brilliance. Jax began to form a strategy that would make use of the resistance's stealth and speed. He knew that if they were going to defeat the Xypharans, they couldn't rely on conventional tactics. They would have to use their size and speed to their advantage, striking the Xypharans where they least expected it. The first step was to disrupt the Xypharans' supply lines. The resistance couldn't go toe-to-toe with their fleets in a direct confrontation, but by targeting the Xypharan supply chains, they could cripple the enemy's ability to sustain their operations. Jax's plan was to coordinate multiple, simultaneous attacks on key Xyphoran installations spread across the galaxy. These were soft targets, planetary stations, cargo freighters, and smaller military bases that could be infiltrated and sabotaged without risking a full-scale engagement. The objective was to hit hard and fast, then retreat before the Xypharans could react. Ryder, Jax's most trusted officer, was tasked with leading the teams that would carry out these attacks. Using the cloaking devices the Resistance had stolen from the Xypharans, Ryder and his team were able to infiltrate a Xyphoran cargo hub, a massive transport station that supplied critical resources to the alien fleet. The team disabled key communication systems, sabotaged the transporters, and planted explosive charges that would destroy the hub. The mission was a success, with no casualties on the Resistance's side and significant damage done to the Xyphoran supply line. The first victory in this new campaign gave the Resistance a much-needed boost. But Jax knew this was only the beginning. The next phase of his strategy involved psychological warfare. The Xypharans had always been confident, believing that their advanced technology and military superiority made them untouchable. Jax recognized this as a weakness. He began to spread rumors and misinformation through the galaxy's communication networks, sowing doubt among the Xypharans and their allies. Humanity had long been underestimated, and now Jax would use that to their advantage. False transmissions, disguised as intercepted communications from Xyphoran commanders, began to spread throughout the galaxy. These messages made it appear as though the Xyphoran Empire was facing internal conflicts, with factions vying for power and questioning the leadership of their emperor. While these were lies, The Xyphoran's overconfidence made them vulnerable to the manipulation. As the rumors grew, Xyphoran fleets began to withdraw from certain systems, believing they were under threat from within. At the same time, Jax orchestrated a coordinated attack on several Xyphoran outposts. With their supply lines disrupted and morale wavering, the Xypharans were less able to respond effectively. The resistance struck not just with force, but with strategy. Each victory was carefully calculated, each move designed to weaken the enemy's resolve and force them to retreat. The culmination of this strategy came when Jax, using the cloaking technology and misdirection, led the resistance in a decisive raid against a major Xyphoran fleet docked at a heavily fortified space station. The Xypharans expected a full-scale assault, but instead, the resistance launched a hit-and-run attack, disabling key power generators and causing chaos within the fleet. The resistance fighters didn't engage in direct confrontation, but instead used their speed and cunning to cripple the station, leaving the Xypharans confused and in disarray. In the end, the combination of sabotage, misinformation, and guerrilla tactics had turned the tide in the war. The Xypharans, who had once believed themselves to be untouchable, were now reeling. They had failed to account for humanity's ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. And for the first time, it seemed the resistance had gained the upper hand. Jax knew, however, that this was only the beginning. The Xyphoran Empire was wounded, but not defeated. The final strike was still ahead, and humanity would need every ounce of resourcefulness and bravery to finish what they had started. But for the first time in the war, humanity wasn't just surviving, they were winning. After months of relentless strikes, calculated strategies, and unyielding resistance, the galaxy was on the brink of a transformative moment. The Xyphoran Empire, once a seemingly unstoppable force, was now struggling to hold its grip on the galaxy. The human resistance, fueled by ingenuity, resourcefulness, and a relentless drive for freedom, had managed to weaken their enemy at every turn. But the war was far from over. Jax Bracken, the leader of the resistance, knew that the final blow was fast approaching. The Xyphoran Empire still controlled key sectors of the galaxy, and their command fleet, under the direct control of the Xyphoran Emperor, remained intact. Until this fleet was taken down, the resistance couldn't claim victory. The Xypharans had underestimated humanity's resilience, but Jax was determined to make them pay for that mistake. The final assault would be humanity's most daring and dangerous operation to date. The resistance had gathered all its strength, human, alien allies, and the many species freed from Xyphoran oppression, all under the banner of unity and the promise of a new galaxy free of tyranny. Jax had a plan, one that would push his fighters to their limits, but if successful, it would end the war once and for all. The plan was simple. Infiltrate the Xyphoran flagship, the Titan-class dreadnought, the heart of the enemy's military might, and disable its core systems. The flagship housed the most advanced Xyphoran weaponry, including a galactic annihilation cannon, capable of wiping out entire planets. If they could destroy the dreadnought or at least incapacitate its weapons, the Xypharans would lose their ability to fight back. Jax, leading the operation, knew that time was critical. The Xypharans were no longer naive. They would be prepared for the Resistance's assault. Every possible contingency had been planned. Using stolen Xyphoran stealth technology, the Resistance fleet would approach the dreadnought unnoticed, then infiltrate through a narrow breach in its outer defenses. The attack would come from two fronts. While one team dealt with the outer security systems, Jax and his team would infiltrate the dreadnought's core, destroy the cannon, and sever the connection between the flagship's internal systems and the Xyphoran fleet at large. The tension within the Resistance fleet was palpable. This was the final gamble, the point of no return. Jax addressed his team, looking each fighter in the eyes. This is it. The galaxy's future is in our hands. We strike at the heart, and we do it together. We won't back down. We will win. With a resounding cheer, the final assault commenced. The Resistance fleet, cloaked in darkness, slipped through the Xyphoran lines, using speed and precision to avoid detection. The Xyphoran dreadnought, a colossal ship, loomed ahead, with its outer defenses appearing impenetrable. But Jax had studied every detail, and they made their move. The first phase of the plan was a complete success. Ryder, Jax's most trusted officer, and his team disabled the outer security systems, allowing the resistance to board the dreadnought undetected. The inner corridors of the flagship were dark, filled with the quiet hum of alien machinery and the occasional clank of armored Xyphoran guards. Time was running out. The team advanced cautiously, planting explosive charges to cripple the ship's outer defenses. But the deeper they moved, the more heavily guarded the core became. And then they encountered the first major obstacle. The Xyphoran elite soldiers, genetically enhanced to be stronger, faster, and more deadly than any human. A brutal firefight erupted in the hallways. The resistance fought back fiercely, but they were outnumbered, and the Xyphoran's advanced weapons gave them an advantage. Jax's team pressed on, using every ounce of human ingenuity to outmaneuver their enemies. Jax, as always, led from the front, clearing the path for his team to reach the heart of the dreadnought. They moved with urgency, each second closer to their goal, but the Xyphoran resistance was fierce. As they reached the heart of the ship, they encountered a final defense, a biomechanical barrier protecting the core. Jax knew they didn't have time to hack through it conventionally. In a last-ditch effort, Ryder sacrificed himself, holding off the remaining elite Xyphoran guards long enough for Jax to set the final explosive charges. The biomechanical barrier cracked, and the charges were detonated, sending a shockwave through the core systems. The dreadnought shuddered as the main cannon was disabled, and the power systems began to fail. The once indomitable ship began to fall apart, unable to maintain its stranglehold on the galaxy. As the resistance fighters evacuated, the Xyphoran flagship began to crumble under its own weight. The human-led rebellion had delivered the final blow. The explosion that followed was massive. The dreadnought's destruction sent a shockwave through the galaxy, and the Xyphoran fleet scattered in disarray. The galaxy had witnessed something unprecedented. Humanity, once thought weak and insignificant, had become the decisive force in galactic history. In the aftermath of the assault, Jax stood with his surviving team on the wreckage of the dreadnought, the galaxy's future stretching out before them. The Xypharans were no more, and humanity had secured its place as the true force of the galaxy. But Jax knew that the galaxy's true test wasn't over. This was just the beginning of humanity's rise. The Xyphoran Empire had been shattered. The massive destruction of their flagship and the collapse of their military infrastructure marked the end of their reign of terror. The galaxy, once gripped in fear, now stood on the precipice of a new dawn. The human resistance, led by Jax Bracken, had not only survived but triumphed, proving that humanity's resourcefulness and unyielding spirit could overcome even the most seemingly insurmountable enemies. As the dust settled and the remnants of the Xyphoran fleet scattered, the resistance leaders began to take stock of the vast responsibility before them. With the Xypharans defeated, a power vacuum had emerged across the galaxy. Formerly enslaved species, liberated worlds, and scattered human colonies all looked to the resistance as the new symbol of hope and unity. Jax Bracken, now more than just a soldier, was hailed as a hero, a leader who had defied the odds and led the galaxy into freedom. But Jax knew the war had only changed the galaxy's balance of power. Now, humanity had the task of rebuilding. The Resistance's victory wasn't just about survival. It was about creating a new order, one where peace and justice could thrive. Humanity's first challenge was to unite the fractured galaxy. Jax, along with his allies, formed an intergalactic council to ensure that every species, human and alien, had a voice in shaping the future. The coalition of liberated worlds began the difficult process of dismantling the old Xyphoran control systems, redistributing resources, and rebuilding devastated planets. As a new order took shape, humanity's values of unity, resilience, and innovation became the foundation of a galactic alliance that stretched from the farthest reaches of space to the core. The former Deathworlders had shown the universe that no empire, no matter how vast or mighty, could withstand the strength of the human spirit. The battle was over. The war had been won. But the true work had just begun. Humanity, once dismissed as weak, now stood at the forefront of the galaxy, ready to shape its future. The Xyphoran Empire had fallen, and in its place, a new era of peace and cooperation had been born.